Executing your basic sequence of service is not enough, whether it's 7, 10, or 14. Hindi kasi ito enough guarantee for repeat business unless you add the specific value to each basic interaction. For each individual step of your service sequence, you need to answer this question. What will improve the customer's experience in my restaurant during this sequence? Each touchpoint kasi is an opportunity for the restaurant to make a positive or a negative impression on the customer. So, are you doing your best to create a memorable dining experience for your customers? In this video, tingnan natin yung journey ng customers from the time na pumasok siya sa iyong restaurant up to the time na lumabas sila. And then let us find out on how can we add touchpoints to your sequence of service to make them come back for more. Hello! Magandang araw mga ka-e-learners! Ako si Miss E, ang inyong F&B specialist. I talk about food and beverage management. This channel is dedicated to all the hotel and restaurant management students, restaurant owners, food and beverage employees in the hospitality industry. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so I can make more videos like these. My topics are based on my first-hand experiences in hotels, resorts, casinos, membership clubs, beach club, golf, and country club. Batay sa sarili kong karanasan bilang corporate F&B executive, F&B director, trainer, mentor, consultant, and pre-opening expert. I develop policies and procedures for F&B operations, food safety and hygiene, F&B sustainability, F&B cost control, and pre-opening templates and guidelines. I create tailored workshops and training solutions with coaching and mentoring. I want you to be empowered at magkaroon ng kaalaman sa pasikot-sikot sa food and beverage management. If that sounds good to you, then please give me a big thumbs up and let's go! So nowadays, maraming mga experience enhancers na ang ini-inject nila sa mga sequence of service just to make the dining experience distinctive and memorable. At highly competitive na ngayon ang F&B industry, dapat nating ma-master ang art of sequence of service with touchpoints. Kasi ito lang yung way para ma-attract natin ang mga customers to dine at bumalik sila for repeat business. And speaking of unique services, I would like to share with you one very entertaining tea service in one of the resorts and casinos in Manila. In today's world, touchpoints have expanded to the apps and the social media. Maraming mga restaurant owners at operators ang bumibitaw na sa traditional restaurant touchpoints. Kasi most of the diners now are looking for unique and great dining experiences. Order-taking apps, online reservations, unique tea service, unique coffee service, unique dessert service, and others. So they engage the diners to make the dining experience more memorable. So you need to go forward. Kailangan mong mag-conduct ng benchmarkings and competitive checks. Maybe you have to dine out and go to the newly opened restaurants para makita mo na kung ano na ba ang mga best practices when it comes to your sequence of service. But always remember lang yung yardstick will be a restaurant with the same or higher category with that of your restaurant. So take the opportunity to identify new ideas and best practices in their sequence of service to meet the ever-changing demands and expectations of your diners. So mga ka-e-learners, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would love to have you here in my channel as a subscriber, and rest assured that all topics that I will be discussing are based on real-life experiences in the F&B industry. Thank you mga ka-e-learners! So now let us revisit our sequence of service at lagyan natin ng mga experience enhancers. Let's go mga ka-e-learners! In our sequence of service, step number 1 is welcoming the guests warmly. So in welcoming the guests, you have to observe the 10-5 rule. If the guest is 10 feet away from you, make an eye contact, smile and nod to acknowledge the guest. If the guest is 5 feet away from you, make eye contact, Smile and greet the guest using the time of the day and the restaurant's name. And then you have to establish eye-to-eye contact and smile. You must be the first to approach the guest and do not wait for the guest to approach you. Warm greetings is the key to building trust and of course to make them feel comfortable. The manner of greetings set the tone for the rest of the sequence kasi it may create a positive or a negative impression. Greet the guests as soon as they enter and give them your full attention. Be polite and smile. It can make you look likable and approachable. Make sure to be welcoming but not too familiar. So you may use respectful titles like Sir, Ma'am, and Miss. But then, if repeat guests naman siya or with reservation, you may address them by their names to make it more personal. Use customer's name at least twice during the conversation. And of course, do not forget to recognize the kids as well as the elders. So while welcoming the guests warmly, offer seating options when available. You may assist or help them with their belongings. You may also engage with the customers. Small talks or questions like, "How are you today?" It can help you start a conversation. But no personal questions must be asked. Maintain professionalism at all given time. And after welcoming the guests, the second step to your sequence of service is leading and seating the guests to the table cordially. At a minimum distance, guide the customers to their table. Request the guest to follow you saying, "Mr. Smith, this way please." Use the right hand with open palm to direct the guests to the table. But you also have to be engaging. Walk at least 2 steps ahead. And you must never be more than 3 steps. You have to warn the guests of obstacles if there are any. So ensure that guests are following you and do not walk too fast. You have to look back from time to time and briefly converse with your customers. And look back to check if the guest is able to follow your pace. In seating the guests, ask if the table is to their liking. "Is this table alright with you, Mr. Smith?" If not to his satisfaction, then you may offer another available table. You also have to observe the service protocol. Kids first, then elderly, ladies, and men. If the host is identified, then the host will be the last. You also have to be very sensitive on guests and check for those who may need special assistance. And once all of the guests are seated, see that you retreat smoothly from the table with a smile. And now we go to the third step of your service sequence. Presenting the menu immediately. Menus must be presented to the guests within 3 minutes from being seated. So avoid making customers ask for it. Menus must be in a very good condition, clean, no stains, no markings and folds. And you always have to announce your presence and introduce yourself when presenting the menu. And present the open menu from the right of the guest. Again, observe service protocols, kids, elderly, ladies, men, and host. As soon as you present the menu, inform them of unavailable items right away in order to avoid disappointments on the part of the guests. And then you need to briefly highlight and describe your specials. You always make it a point to recommend your house favorites. You may offer special assistance to children, persons with disabilities, elderly, and the pregnant guests. You may recommend options to those with special dietary needs, or recommend special kiddie menus to parents with a child who is a very picky eater. And now we go to the next step of your sequence of service. Once they are seated, you need to take food and beverage orders accurately. You must give the customers ample time to look at the menu. You know, sometimes they signal readiness to order. So you have to keep 5 steps away from the guests while waiting para hindi sila ma-pressure o hindi sila nagmamadali. Inform guests of any unavailable item before the order-taking procedure. And of course, you have to write down orders for accuracy to avoid potential misunderstandings. Write down the modifications, the dietary restrictions, the add-ons, example, less salt, no sugar, and others. You must encourage guests to order beverages early. So, make them order for a second round to boost your average check. So, you may check my video on how to grow your average guest checks. You need to use suggestive selling techniques throughout the order-taking process. So you have to listen carefully to each order and maintain eye-to-eye contact. Remember the preferences of your repeat guests. Take time to explain briefly each dish that you suggest. Suggest signature dishes, especially for the first-timer guests. And again, observe service protocols: kids, elderlies, ladies, men, and host. Kids may be offered activity kits, but with the consent of the parents, like coloring books and others. And repeat back all orders and special requests. You have to ensure to repeat orders in the same sequence that they were taken. So inform customers of the expected serving time. Make a polite and smooth exit. And one reminder, strictly use the seat number system. Never forget to make use of the seat number system based on your restaurant standard while taking orders. Kasi this is to ensure that the right order is served to the right person and to avoid forgetting who sits where. And it is recommended that guests facing the main entrance door may always be the seat number 1. Then you have to count clockwise. Strictly avoid asking guests who ordered what. And after the order taking procedure, now let's go to step number 5, rectifying the table efficiently. Check all utensils, set extra or additional covers if needed. Identify condiments and utensils that will go with each dish. So make sure to explain and inform the guest what food is it paired with. Excuse yourself politely and perform the pre-service task. And don't wait for the guest to request for the necessary utensils, condiments, and others. For example, when guests would order steak, set up the steak knife as part of the pre-service rectification. Don't wait for the guest to request for it when the steak is served. And now let's move on to the next step, serving beverage orders correctly. Have all the necessary supplies as stirrers, coasters, cocktail napkins ready while the bartender prepares the beverages within 3 minutes for soda, bottled water, coffee, tea, and canned beverages. 5 minutes for prepared drinks, shakes, and cocktails. And always announce your presence before serving the beverages. And avoid auctioning and asking who ordered which drink. Make sure you know which customer ordered which beverage through your seat numbers. Place heavier items in the center of the tray or area closest to your body. The heavier item should be placed in the center, while the lighter item should be placed around it. This will help keep the tray balanced and prevent it from tilting to one side. Announce the name of the beverage upon serving, and follow the service protocol: children, elderly, ladies, men, and host. And now we move on to the next step, serving food orders with care. Check all orders before loading on the trays and confirm that all are correct based on your order slips. Announce your presence 2 steps before reaching the table. This is in order to get their attention that food will be served. Announce the name of the dish upon presenting to the table. This is to reinforce guest recognition of the dish. Serve food at the correct temperature and presentation. You have to deliver the food promptly and serve to the correct guests. Avoid staggered service unless advised by the guests. Food service time should not exceed 20 minutes except for some special dishes, which require elaborate and longer cooking preparation. Each plate should arrive to table exactly as it left the kitchen. No spilled sauces and no misplaced garnishes. And of course, you have to follow the service protocol again. Children, elderly, ladies, men, and host. Special assistance and guidance must be accorded to the children, persons with disability, elderly, and the pregnant women. And you have to check if all diners have appropriate cutlery. Proper serving utensils must also be provided for family-style service. Never ask who ordered what. Use your guide where you indicated the seat numbers. And then you have to visually check the table and remove items which are no longer needed. Check for empty glasses, empty cups, bread baskets, appetizer plates. This is also the opportunity to offer a second round of drinks, so please check my video on how to grow your average check. And then you need to ensure that food items are served all at the same time unless requested otherwise. And wish the guests a nice meal before making a polite, smooth exit. And after serving food and beverages, we move on to the next step. Check back guest satisfaction sincerely. Check on customers within 2 minutes of serving food. This gives them the chance to taste and check on their food. So make sure it was prepared correctly and figure out if they need something else. If there are issues, address immediately. Check the body language of guests for cues. Anticipate guests' needs. Stay attentive to potential needs and watch for customers' nonverbal cues and step in proactively. You may offer to change or cancel any unsatisfactory items immediately. You have to engage with the customers, converse in warm but professional manner, and do not ask personal questions. Thank the customers for sharing their opinion on the quality of food, and offer to refill beverages, and should the customer decline, ensure to inform other service staff. Make a polite and smooth exit. And now let's move on to the next step. Maintain a clean table skillfully. Announce your presence 2 steps before reaching the table. Be sensitive enough when performing this task. Do not interfere when guests are conversing with each other. Ensure that guests have finished eating before clearing. And keep table organized throughout the meal without disrupting the guests. You may refill drinks and water, remove empty plates, and provide extra napkins. Clear from the right of the guests, minding an appropriate distance, so only 2 plates must be cleared at a time. Ensure that all have finished the main courses before clearing. And please do not scrape plates in guests' view. Bussing trays, oval trays at the side stations must be prohibited. Ensure that guests still have appropriate cutleries. And now let's go to the next step. Offering dessert menu enticingly. Offering desserts, or what we call the meal enders, not only enhances the dining experience but also boosts the average check and the revenue. So kindly check my video on how to grow your average check. So you have to be sensitive enough when performing this task. Do not interfere when guests are conversing. Remove all condiments, salt and pepper shakers, all cutleries, used or unused. But make sure that dessert forks, spoons, and knives will be provided for the desserts, coffee spoon for coffee or tea. Do suggestive selling and do not ask close-ended questions. Questions which are answerable by yes or no. Open the dessert menu when presenting, so you have to take extra effort in familiarizing yourself with the product knowledge and know your product well so you can describe it well and sell well. Repeat the orders, ensure to repeat in the same sequence it was taken, and inform the guests of the expected or estimated serving time. So after taking the orders for the dessert, let's move on to the next step. Serving the desserts precisely. So it is almost the last step of sequence of service, so ensure that it leaves a lasting impression. Ensure to clear and crumb the table before serving the desserts. Remove unnecessary condiments such as salt and pepper shakers. And always announce your presence when serving the dessert. You may also suggest beverages which will go well with the dessert. Mention the name of the dessert upon serving, and this is to reinforce guest recognition of the item. Ensure all cutleries were cleared from the previous courses, used and unused. And also, you have to follow the service protocol: children, elderly, ladies, men, and host. And now we move on to the next. Serving coffee or tea timely. Coffee and tea may best be recommended while you are taking the dessert order. Announce your presence 2 steps before approaching the table. Be sensitive enough when performing this task and do not interfere while guests are conversing. Ensure that guests have on their table milk or creamer, sugars, and sweeteners. Continue water service throughout the meal while engaging with the guests. Serve coffee from the right. Serve coffee with a glass of water on the side. If refill or a second cup is requested, replace the used cups with fresh ones. Never pour on used coffee cups. Leave them with a favorable impression of being cared for. The manner by which the last part of the customer's journey is handled can make or break their experience. Presenting the check and saying farewell are the last 2 steps. So be very careful and devote full attention to these last 2 steps, or there might be a risk of undoing all the good jobs that you have put in. And now we go to the next sequence. Presenting the bill promptly. Present the bill when requested. Never rush customers by presenting the bill prematurely. So wait until they ask for it. When they do, deliver it promptly. The check must be presented in 3 minutes upon request, but double-check before printing to ensure that all items were served and were correct. Once presented, take one step backward for you to allow the host the privacy to check the bill. But be ready when the host asks questions. Proceed with the necessary settlement, and payment should be processed in 4 to 5 minutes only. You need to thank them for coming to your restaurant by using their name. Invite them to return and mention other special events or occasion which they may enjoy. So the last part of the sequence is bidding farewell genuinely. Give full attention when the guests are ready to leave. Ensure a discreet and personal farewell. You have to help gather their belongings or any other matter which they may tend to forget. Ensure that receptionist bids them farewell upon leaving. And you have to thank the guest by name. The waiter must pull out the chair of the host, or at least the most senior member of the party, and escort him until the restaurant's entrance. Always say, "We hope to see you again." Say goodbye with a smile, thank your customers sincerely, and ask if they need anything before they leave. Take the opportunity to invite them back. Mention any upcoming special or events. A warm, genuine farewell leaves a lasting impression. So mga ka-e-learners, higher customer satisfaction, improves margins, and table turnovers. At yung mga touch points sa iyong sequence of service will lead to happy customers and of course, a healthier bottom line. And that's it for today's video mga ka-e-learners. Thank you and see you on my next one. Keep watching, keep on learning, and keep on improving your sequence of service. Bye!